Hello again, chess fans. Let's get this ball rolling. So, in today's installment of the Road to GM, our endgame part, we're gonna start a new game. So, what we're doing is we're following a book called Mastering Chess Endgames Volume 1. And what the book does is the book looks at specific openings and what endgames commonly arise from those openings. So what we are going to look, let me just quickly see if my sound is turned up all the way. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to quickly just rummage through the moves as they get played here, just to, never mind. Just to be able to get to the position that they talk about. Okay, so we are busy with the dragon. There we go. So it's all the dragon defense, Sicilian dragon for black, and what kind of endgames you can get from these positions. Now, in most of these positions, most of the Sicilians in general, the thought is to be that when white wins, the game is ended within like 30 moves type of idea. And when black wins, the game is usually an endgame win. So black tends to have the better end of the stick from an endgame point of view. Okay, let's have a quick squiz through here. Not too interested in the opening really. We're just looking at how we quickly got there as well. So bishop e3, knight takes, bishop takes, okay, knight takes, bishop takes, queen a5 gets played, queen d2, bishop e6 castle, queen d2, bishop e6 castle. So this is the general setup that you'll end up getting. Is you'll have the black king castle on the king side, and the white king will be on the queen side. Now it becomes a fight for attack on both wings. Still enjoying my coffee here in the morning. I guess it's already, well, technically afternoon already. Okay, let's quickly see. After that, castle b5 was played, king b1 was played. Let's quickly rook f to c8, rook he1, rook f to c8, rook he1. Okay, so what white ends up deciding here to do is, because he's behind in the attack, he's playing in the center. This is a common theme, that when your opponent is throwing an attack, you can also play in the center. Well, if he's throwing an attack on the wing, or on your queen side or your king side, then playing in the center is not a bad way to go, because of course if your center is very solid and strong, then the rest of your position should hold perfectly fine. Okay, so after that, bishop takes b3, c takes b3 and b4, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight e5, knight takes d5, bishop g. Okay, well, there's a lot of takings and takings and takings going on here. Is this really the game? Because I don't know how we got to the end game. Okay. So knight takes, bishop, queen, knight c3 check. Okay, so that's how we get to it. Bishop takes, b takes, b takes. Okay, so knight c3 check, bishop takes, b takes, b takes, queen takes, rook takes. Okay, now I know how we get to the end game. So all the takes, and then king b1, rook c7. Is that really how it went down? Oh, wait, I missed a move here. So rook takes, then rook e3 gets played. But that's impossible. So what is going on here? What did I miss? Bishop takes, knight c3, bishop takes, b takes, rook takes. But rook e3 is impossible. Huh? What did I miss? I missed something. Bishop takes c3, b takes c3, b takes c3. Oh, okay. Sorry. He didn't play queen takes. Sorry. He played rook takes. My bad. Then he played rook e3. He played rook c8. Rook a to c8. Rook takes. Queen takes. King. Rook c7. And then rook c1 takes. There we go. Okay. Perfect. So we end up getting straight into an endgame from the opening. So we can quickly just rummage through that again. You'll see that all of it was pretty much, played in a specific way. So, we castled, he played f3 to protect e4, he played knight there, he played bishop here, we took it, queen a5, Played queen d2 because he needs to castle. He played bishop e6. He didn't want to take on e6. Not quite sure why. Because we've had positions where taking on e6 is good. But okay, it depends on the material. So castle, he played b5 quickly. He played his king out of the way so he can move his knight. Played his rook to c8 like we generally do. He played rook e1, and from here everything is forced. Takes, b4, knight here, takes, knight there, takes, there, and there. That's it. So we basically get all the way to an endgame from the opening chosen. Now, here we have to kind of assess the endgame. My question here is, okay, logic states that he with the outside passed pawn should have the best chance of winning. So here we have the two pawns against the one. So for us to create a passed pawn should be fairly easy. Okay. Now the problem is if black does the same with his two pawns here and here versus this guy, then he's going to have his pawn in the center while we're going to have our pawn on the outside. Which means his king is going to have to go to the outside, we're going to take, and then we're going to go with our king to the king side and eat some more yummy pawnies. So this is generally, it should look like white should win this. But somehow it seems like there might be a way for black to survive. So let's look at the position now. Yada yada yada, just want to look at what they say. They don't say anything interesting. Okay. Now they're obviously just explaining exactly what I just said, you know, how we should try and win. Okay, so black plays king f8. King goes to c2, king goes to e8. So of course the black king needs to come and support this side of the board, otherwise he will lose to the outside passed pawn. So king c3 gets run up, king d7, it's all about the kings now. b4 gets played, king c6, a4, e6. So as you can see, he's trying to create a passed pawn of his own maybe. Best case scenario for black, when black would not lose, is if white ever tries to play e5, we would play d5, giving us a protected passed pawn, which then of course can never be taken. So then you can just ignore him because he can never really make any progress with his own passed pawn, because his king can't go too far away, otherwise we just run with our protected passed pawn. So king d4 gets played and king b6 gets played. Okay. So now they just say, up till now everything has been going natural. To win, white must break through with his king on the king side, diverting the enemy king with the outside passed pawn on the opposite side of the board. Okay. Now in the given case it is not clear how to achieve this, since in the center there are no breakthrough squares, and if at some point, like I said, you play e5, then I just play d5, giving me a protected passed pawn. So white starts with the move g4. Okay. Now we have another. So for the present it's difficult to detect any strategic aim behind white's move, and yet this is the key moment of the endgame. So apparently king c7 was played, but this is bad. So we will have to look at later why. The losing move. To make it easier for the reader to grasp the essence of the endgame, we will first look at the game continuation. Okay. Of course, king c7 makes sense that it would lose, because after g5 we get ourselves a bunch of extra tempos. Now tempos of course is when your opponent can't make moves and we can make pawn moves to force his king, or to force him to move. This is the kind of thing that you look for in like zugzwang. Zugzwang is where your opponent has to move something and weaken his position or lose material or whatever. So by playing g5 here, we take away a lot of moves for black. Now suddenly black is weaker on this side of the board. Okay, so let's see how he continues to win the game from here. King goes back to b6, so black is adopting the let's wait and see what you do kind of mentality here. Okay, so king c4. So here they just say that they won't be commenting on the next 8 moves, because it was just done to make time on the clock. a6 gets played, king d4, king c6, king c3. Okay, so he's just messing about a little bit. King b6. Sorry, let me why is this doing that? Okay. King c4, king c7, king d3. Okay, king c4, king d3. Wow. How very boring. King c3, king b6, king d4, king c6, king d3. Isn't this like almost like a perpetual? Let's be very careful. Surely this position has been reached a bunch of times now. Where was I? I was here. It's king d3, king b6, king c4, king c6. I mean, surely this position has been reached 3 times. Look. Okay. So this is now the first time that black is played. So after this move, that's 1 on d4. That's 1. That's okay. That's 2. Okay, I guess he's getting away with this, luckily, because the kings are not in the same squares. And now he finally plays f4. There we go. Okay, so f4 is played. King b6. King d4 again. So he moved the pawn, so the position has changed, of course. King c6. King e3. Okay, so now he has to go the other side of the board. Now note, if d5 gets played, then you do get a passed pawn, but it's a weak pawn, because now the pawn will have to be protected by its king. And the king needs to keep control over these 2 pawns together with that guy. So, you know, you can't just go ahead and do whatever you want. So king e3, king b6, and now he played f5. Interesting. Okay, of course. I mean, the point is just that the double pawns do not scare him even in the slightest. So if, let's say, something like this takes there, then of course you're just going to fall apart now. Now this is an isolated bunch of isolated pawns, so they will all just crumble. So the move like this is too slow because of course we can just now go and attack the pawn. Can't get here because of that. So that doesn't help. So finally, and the black king is a bit too far away. So finally white starts to make a little bit of headway here. So now let's just see how he continues this though. So f5. White embarks on decisive action. This pawn is destined to become a queen, apparently. Well, that's cool. a5. New variation. They say... Wait, what? Oh, yeah. They say that... Oh, a5 is actually... Let me just promote a5 quickly. Just promote this variation, because it is our main variation that was played in the game. And then they just say that if c6 is, if he plays king c6, you know, just kind of like still waiting and seeing, then f6 get played, king b6, king d4, king d4, king c6, king c4, king c6, king c4, king b6, a5, and after king c6 he plays h3. So now you'll see this is the kind of position that is where the zugzwang issue becomes a problem. So black now does not want to move his king, because if he moves his king anywhere, doesn't really matter where, then we can play b5 and create our passed pawn. Okay, so but now the problem is white doesn't have any other moves to play, so we play a move like h3 and he can't move this pawn because of en passant. If he moves this pawn, we just take and we go king d4, and then we get a tempo again. So let's say like that, takes, there, and then h4. So again, in this position, black does not want to move his king. But it is obviously not his move, so we make it his move. Now if he goes this way, do we just immediately have... Yeah, we can immediately play b5. Because we will queen first. And we will queen with check, actually. So we will take this pawn with check and then go king here as well. So if he takes, we just go here. If he plays king here now, sorry, let me go back. If he goes king here now, then we can just push past. Sorry, there we go. So now he's just in trouble again as well, because now we have a protected passed pawn, and there's not much he can do about it. He's going to lose this pawn, and then of course we're just going to enter in with the king. We can probably even just go the other way. We can go this way. Go eat more ponies for us. Okay, so let's go back. So he can't play d5. If he plays e5, then the same problem arises. We play h4. Now the king has to move again. So now let's say the king moves, we play b5. Now he's got a backward pass pawn, which does not help him. So takes, takes. Now let's say king goes here, we just go here. And we go eat some pawnies, and of course we just win the game. Take, take, move king, there, there, and the rest is easy. Okay, so this is now the problem. So he can't just sit and wait because we can put him into zugzwang. That is the key factor here. We can put him in zugzwang. Okay, so he plays a5. See how it continues. Now b5. Now again we have a protected pass pawn. So this already looks bad for black. Surely black should be lost here. So king c5, but of course at least his king is a bit more forward now. Okay, our king is in the back here. But his king can't go anywhere once again. His king can never go forward now because of the obvious pawn just running straight through. So that is the big problem. So after king c5, f6 is played, king b6, so now he has to he's stuck on that. King f3, king c5, king g4. Interesting. So we're running in here now. Okay, king g4. Let's see where he goes. King b6, h3. Okay, so again, this is all about... Aha, I see. So it's about getting the king on the right place. So after h3, king c5, h4, king b6, h5, and then king c5, h6. Okay, now why does this get played? You'll notice, or you'll see soon enough, okay. Look at the pawn formation. The only thing that we have left that we can do is we can play e5. Okay, because we're never going to be able to force his king out of the squares, because our king does not have access to any of these squares. So we are going to have to play e5 at some point. But if we get this done at the right time, then it won't matter, because if we can get our king here, even if our opponent gets a queen, it doesn't matter, because we're going to take this one, we're going to move back to g7, and there's no way he's going to stop us from queening as well. Okay, very important to note. So let's look at how does that matter. So, okay, let's continue the game here. Oh, wait, they made some more moves here. Okay, so king b6, king f4, king c5, king e3. So now we run our king around. He goes king. Sorry, let me just find all the moves. King e3, king b6, king d4, king d4, king b7, and now e5 gets played. Okay, so now you'll see that, of course, we give black the protected pass pawn as well, which is actually a bit of a problem. But if you calculate this correctly, you'll see why this is not a problem. Here, here, and king here. That's it. Now check this out. Okay, so now we have to start counting. Okay, so if we get our king here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 moves. Okay, so that's what we need to do. So, okay, now let's just look at how many moves do we need to get to g7. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, and he needs 4 moves to queen. Now we're going to move first. So we're going to 1, pawn to d4, 2, pawn to d3, 3, pawn to d2, 4, he queens, we take. Okay, now check this out. So what he does is he sacrifices his b pawn now to get his king to g7. King goes to b7 and king d6. Now the race begins. So king d6, he plays d4, king e7, plays d3, king takes. Okay, so obviously we can just take the pawn as well, because we can play f7 to block any queen checks like this. We can play f7. Okay, he goes d2, go king g8 apparently. Well, I don't really see how that matters, but anyway, he queens. Oh, I see, he goes king g8 because he can immediately go f7. I see. Now you can see that this king is still very far away to getting to this pawn. So if we do end up queening this pawn, and he has to trade off, then we're just going to take his pawn on h7 and win with the h pawn now. So after king g8, he queens, and we play f7. Now there's no way for him to actually stop us from queening, is there? That is quite nice. Okay, so he decides to take here. We queen. He goes queen b3, apparently. And after king takes h7, he resigned. Okay, of course, because the problem is he's not going to be able to stop these two pawns now either. These two pawns are just going to go. Problem. So let's say he plays something like this. We take. Okay, I guess we can just play king g7 as well. King g7. He goes. We go. He goes. We go. Queen, because we queen first. He queens, but now we can check. So check. King. If the king goes this way, then we just win the queen. That's terrible. King goes this way. And this queen is going to come into the game as well. Check. Oof. He's going to run out of steam eventually, isn't he? Check. He goes to d5. Queen takes... I would have taken the pawn probably. But anyway, check. So, of course, you can see that the two queens are just hunting down the king now. And we still have this pawn. So even if we do trade off all the queens, then we still have that pawn. And, of course, we can still take here and here and here. So our king is just in a much better position than his. So, okay. Just see how long that took. That didn't take too long. So, okay. So now we're going to go all the way back to the very critical position where he allowed us to play g5. Da, 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 da. None of that is important. Okay. So this was, yeah, this was the move. So black played king, excuse me. Black played king c7 and allowed g5, which of course then fixed his pawns on f7 and h7, which then gave us this idea of running our king all the way to here. Okay. So, in a later publication, apparently, Averbach, who was, you know, the Endgame's dude at that time, he was the one who published this, and he looked at a defense for black. Now, they're just saying, basically, if black played g5 himself, then black should be able to draw this. So let's have a quick look at why and how. So g5, let's make it a new main line. And here's the things he looked at. Okay, so let's say king e3, king c6, f4, pawn takes f4, king takes f4, d5. Okay, so he's creating his own passed pawn quicker now. d5, if king e5, now they just look at if g5, again fixing the pawns on these squares, then he would have, wow, is that really an idea? Oh, he can play d4, of course. So now he's just creating a passed pawn which is even further away. So he's got to be very careful where he goes now. So now if you go e5, I go king d5, and I can take here, and I still have time, you know, of course, if you move your king, and I still have time to get back to stop your pawn. And then I will have a protected passed pawn if you're not careful as well. So I take, I go king e, d5, and I play e5 check with the two pawns that are helping each other. So that won't help. Let me just quickly type a little. Okay, so that would not work at all. Okay, back. So he takes instead. Sorry, takes instead. Oh no, it says king e5. Sorry. King e5, yeah. Pawn takes, pawn, king takes. Okay, there we go. Back on track. Then f6. Okay, so now again, it's all about blocking out the king. So the king can't get onto the king side. Okay, so after f6 is played, let's just look. F6, king d4. Now, is there an option of playing g5? Oh, of course not, because you can just take. And if you play h4, then h6 is played. I see. I see the problem. I see the problem. Okay, so that doesn't help. So you can't ever play g5. That's the issue here. So he plays king d4. Yeah, king d4, king b6, king c4. A5 gets played, b5. Wait, what? Oh, he played a6. Sorry. It wasn't a5, it was a6. a6 gets played, b5 gets played, pawn takes, and then e5. Okay, with a draw, apparently. Okay. Tricky? Is this really a draw? Okay, I guess it is, yeah. Because if you go for my pawn here, then I'm going to obviously get yours, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to get this pawn all the way through. So you have to be a little careful. So you can't actually go for my pawn. So if king, I just want to see the rest of the endgame here. If king here, I guess we can just move our king back. Because the point is that you can never go too far away, because of course I do have a passed pawn. Yeah. So you can never go and eat my pawny because I have a passed pawn as well. Okay, so that should be a draw then. Let's look at another variation of the g5. Okay, so after g5 there was also the option of, let me just find the right position, king c4, a6, new variation, a6, a6, blah 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 blah, b5, pawn takes, and f6 again. Okay, so it's important to obviously make sure that these squares are vacant or covered for black. So f6, it's the same setup. King b4, d5, same thing, d5, pawn takes, because now the king can't get here. Okay, and then he plays h3, of course, h3 for attempt at a tempo move. h6, we can play it back because we don't have our pawns fixed on f7 and h7 anymore. So after h6, king a4, d4. I see, this is where we're going to get to the next endgame. King b4, king d3, king c3, pawn takes and pawn takes. That is where we are. And king c5, there we go. So, okay. So if we look at this endgame, this is now a new endgame to look at. And these are all kinds of like pawn endgames that you want to know how to deal with. So this looks pretty bad. But somehow, okay, because you cannot move these two pawns, even if we lose that one, we should be fine. Should we not? Because we can just keep on hammering on these two squares. So I'll show you an example. Let's say he goes here, we go, he goes, we go, he goes, we go, he takes, we go, he has to go wherever, doesn't really matter. If he goes there, I guess he can play there. Doesn't really matter where we go. Here, he goes here, we take, he takes, and we go king here. Does any of this matter? Yeah, this is fine. It seems okay. Okay, maybe we should just play a little bit more accurately. Maybe play there, because now, of course, if he comes king here, we go here, and we should be okay. We should be fine in this endgame. Because eventually, the best he's going to do is he's going to trade off one of the pawns, and our king is going to be in front of the pawn. So it should be okay. So the endgame should be fine. So that's just an example of what could happen. So let's just look at what line they show here. I just want to look at it. Okay, it's all the same, it's all the same, it's all the same that I showed. Okay. But of course, black is always on the back foot in this endgame. So this is the best that black could do. So this was the position that we started with. Let me just go all the way back to the endgame, and this is where we started our position. Okay. So this is something that commonly could happen as well in a dragon situation. So when faced with the 4 versus 5 and the 2 versus 1, white should have the better chances of winning. Black's drawing chances relies on the fact that he keeps the white king out of here. If he can keep the white king out of here, then he should be okay. But if he allows the white king to get in on the king's side, then of course he's going to use his extra pawn on this side of the board to just decoy the black king to the queen's side, and then obviously the munching spree begins. Okay, so I think that is pretty much endgames. The endgames ones, like I say, these lessons are not very long, but in general, you know, we are getting through them very quickly, which is fine as well, and we are looking at quite a variety of different pawn endgames, which I do like as well. Just gives us some ideas. So now that you know in the structure that it is very important to play e6, g5, f6 type of idea. So your pawns want to be here, because in this case you'll be able to keep the king out. Okay, that's it. And of course your king needs to be on the queen's side to stop his passed pawn. Otherwise he's just going to push and get a passed pawn and queen it. Okay, that's where we'll stop for today. Let me just save this, or actually I'll save it just now as soon as I'm done. Thank you guys. I am working on some interesting videos. Who's That GM is one of the big ones that I think a lot of you will enjoy. So thank you so much. I will see you guys in just a little bit for the next one, which will probably be the middle